Welcome to part 1 of the Ganryu Basics Guide, Tekken 7 version 3.11. As always, note that this is intended only to be a primer to get you started. Also, Ganryu is relatively new, so new things can always be discovered. But with that, let's get started. Ganryu doesn't have a 10-frame jab, but the good news is that he gets +3 on block in exchange for the slower speed. Back 1+2 is also guaranteed if the jab hits counter hit. We'll go into a little bit more depth on his tie stance later, but just for now know that it's incredibly strong and he can go into it manually as well as transition from a bunch of different moves. 2-1 is a natural combo that jails on block, can go into Sumo stance, and can be finished with a mid launcher. Extremely important move. 2-4 is one of those sneaky strings where there is no built-in mix-up to it, but due to timing it'll still hit, or you can stop at the jab and do a mid to try to catch people ducking. 1+2 is a safe mid counter hit launcher that can go into stance. Also has a follow-up mid launcher for added utility against buttons. Forward 2 is a quick long-range mid. It's mostly safe due to pushback and range, it crouches, and it knocks down on counter hit. Incredibly versatile move. Forward 1+2 is a quick long-range punisher, safe due to pushback, but it is high. Forward 3+4 is Ganryu's primary power crush. It's long range and will knock down wall splat. Down forward 1 is an I-13 mid poke. Down forward 1-4 is a natural combo and mid-mid. Down forward 1-4-1 can be used for added safety against people hitting buttons, but the third hit is high. Down forward 2 is Ganryu's main launcher. It's mid and only -11 on block. Down forward 2-1-2 is still a launcher but safe on block. The downside is that the additional hits are high, but if they duck they cannot really easily punish down forward 2 by itself. Absolutely great launcher. Down forward 3 is one of the best lows in the game. It's quick, tracks well, great plus frames on hit, and relatively safe. Use often as a core part of your game. Down forward 1+2 is a safe mid-mid hit. It does have a second part that is also mid and will wall splat. This string becomes absurdly strong at the wall due to the ease with which you can confirm it. Down 2+3 is a low that is right on the border of reactable, but it high crushes and is still relatively quick for what it is, can also go into full crouch, gives stupidly good positioning at the wall, use it as an occasional threat to scare people with. Down 1 is a slow mid but very good for pressure, forces crouch on block and hit, juggles on counter hit. Down 4 is a great long range low, juggles on counter hit, hits grounded, and has excellent tracking. Down 1+2 is a quick mid with good range, decent tracking, and is plus on hit and block. On counter hit goes into a hug mix-up for more potential damage. Spam at will. Back 1 is a safe homing move, a bit slow but due to his limited homing moves it's good for occasional use. Back 1-1-1 ends with a move very similar to down 1. Back 1-1 is a natural combo. Back 2-1 is a safe mid-mid string with good range and can go under highs. Can also go into stance. He has a canned 50-50 at the end, but the ender is best used to stop people from hitting buttons since the low version is reactable. Back 4-1 is a safe NCC string that can knock down and wall splat. Second hit comes out pretty slow, so be a little wary as there are things that can interrupt it. The first hit is also -10, so watch out for that too. Back 1+2 is Ganryu's only 10-frame move from standing. It's got a fat hitbox and wall splats, very good at countering pressure, but it is -13, so watch it. Up forward 2 is a safe mid homing move, can be finished for a knockdown or a wall combo, but the second hit is -14, so be careful for that. Same speed as back 1. Forward 1+2 is a quick, safe launcher. It can technically be used as a 14-frame block punish if you're a god, but otherwise just be careful because it is a high. Back forward 1 is a sway back mid that leaves the opponent back turn on hit for big damage. This is another way of preventing people from getting jab happy at range 0. Back down, down forward 2 is a safe wall bouncing heavy damage mid, a bit slow but otherwise very strong. We'll go over Ganryu's full crouch and while standing game later, but for now, once again, keep in mind that Ganryu's full crouch while standing game is superb. Nearly everything he can do from full crouch has good utility. Ganryu is a 50-50 monster. His low game revolves around down forward 3, one of the best lows in the game, which we already mentioned as an essential move, so you should absolutely be using this as much as you can. But all of his lows have some kind of utility. Down 4 is a little on the slow side, but just ambiguous enough that few players will block it on reaction. Things like down forward 2+3 and full crouch 1+2, high crush and knockdown. Tie 3 gives chunky damage and super plus frames on hit. Tie back 1+2 is yet another knockdown low. And if you want to get real crazy, he has things like down back 2 and down 2 for hard reads and cheese. To complement all of this, he has incredibly good mids. Down 12, we already mentioned, is quick, plus on block, does chunky damage on hit, and goes into a 3-way grab mix-up on counter hit. Down forward 2 is crazy safe for being a true mid launcher and can be made completely safe on block if you don't mind the added duck risk. 1+2 and down forward 1+2 are both safe and have additional hits for scary string pressure, particularly at the wall. Back, down, down forward 2 is essentially a slower but safer death fist that wall bounces. Back 2-1, back 4-1, and down forward 4-1 are all safe, natural combo strings that start mid. Although down forward 4-1 is mid-high, so watch it with that one. And for pressure, you got down 1, forward 3, and even stuff like forward 2 slide 1. Granted, that last one is a high, not a mid. And of course, he's also got an I-13 down forward 1. The toolkit is just absurd, so you can play him in a number of different ways, and he's gonna have something that you can use. You can use full crouch for two purposes: to check or crush people abusing highs, or to run a 50-50 game. Checking highs is the easier of the two strategies, since full crouch 1+2 and full crouch 1 both stay crouching the whole time. Otherwise, you have a few tools of varying speeds that you can use depending on how small the window is that you're trying to fit them in. While standing 4 is I-11, while standing 1 is I-13 with a follow-up. Full crouch down forward 2 is an I-14 launcher, and while standing 2 is an I-16 launcher. The mix-up aspect of full crouch isn't that much more complicated, it's just slower. First, you could certainly fake a mix-up and immediately throw out a launcher in the hopes that they're going to mash out or duck or something, but if they're committed to defense, you still got plenty to work with. Full crouch 1+2 is way faster than you might think, especially if you do it instantly from standing. Otherwise, it looks very similar to all of his other moves, particularly while standing 1+2, which is roughly the same speed for those players that are defending based on timing. Beyond that, full crouch 1 is safe, gives +3 on hit, and has more hits for added safety. He doesn't have a toe kick or a traditional toe kick, unfortunately, but full crouch 4 and full crouch 3 could certainly be worse. And if you want to do them from standing to go into full crouch, you can do it down back 4 or down back 3. Either way, that's really all that you need in terms of lows and mids, but you can also get crazy and just pop back up and do a standing 50-50. This can entice people to start swinging when you go into full crouch. New and improved Sumo stands. You can go into it raw by pressing 3+4, or you can transition from a handful of moves. 2-1, 1+2, up forward 1+2, and back 2-1. It would take far too long to go through all the possible transition scenarios, but in general, going into tie after you hit one of these will provide you a situation for a mix-up with unbeatable options, or put you in a very good situation on block for a pseudo mix-up where your opponent will likely have to use very specific counters depending on what you do. As for the mix-ups, he has two lows, tie 3 and tie back 1+2. Tie 3 gives +9 to keep you in their face with extreme advantage, and it's only -12 on block. Tie back 1+2 is a knockdown and is crouching the whole time. Note that tie 3 doesn't crouch at all. Both do chunky damage, but note that tie 3 has very short range, so be careful doing it outside of a transition. For mids, you got tie 4-1 and tie forward 1+2. Tie forward 1 is a natural combo, but the second hit can be ducked on block. Tie forward 1+2 is a knockdown, but leaves Ganryu in the same position as tie back 1+2, meaning that there's no real follow-up opportunity unless you're at the wall. Tie 1+2 is a bit slow for raw mix-ups most of the time, but it is a power crush and goes into a grab mix-up. You can also use tie 1 and I-11 high as a quick interrupt, but you get nothing spectacular off of it, it's just a poke. Similarly, tie 2 is a fast homing move, but it is high, and the other tie moves typically have enough tracking not to necessitate the use of a homing move. It does have good range though, and it also gives you a counter hit juggle, so you can slap people moving around at range. The unblockable is also very useful because of how fast it is and how far out it will wall splat, but it's mostly setup based, so we won't go into it here, although definitely check out our recent video about his unblockable juggle setup. Also keep in mind that he's crouching the whole time, so you can catch hesitant players with it. Otherwise, utilize the transitions intelligently and you're good to go. Ganryu's Oki is pretty simple, but man is it dangerous. For starters, he might just have the largest number of moves that hit grounded. Down forward 3, down 4, full crouch 1+2, full crouch 1, down forward 2+3, forward 3, down 1, 1+2, the list goes on and on. So sitting on the ground is just not safe for an opponent. To make things worse, going into tie raw is pretty quick and 1+2 hits grounded, so he can use that for more pressure. Also, if he finds you in a weird situation, like say face up, feet away, he can easily catch you in the back with down forward 2, down 12, and a number of other things. So when he gets you on the ground, it's gonna hurt. Lastly, let's talk about grabs. For traditional grabs, Ganryu only has his 2 normals and 2 command grabs, both of which are 1+2 breaks. They all give him good positioning. The big disadvantage is that he doesn't have a command 1 or 2 break, so against players that are good at breaking grabs, these are somewhat limited in utility. His Sumo hug, on the other hand, is stronger and much more interesting. He has 3 ways to get into the hug: counter hit forward 2, counter hit down 1+2, or tie 1+2. Once in a hug, he can press 1, 2, or 1+2, and your opponent must press the same buttons to break it, but there's no animation to react to, so it's a true 3-way mix-up. Now for counter hit forward 2 and tie 1+2, first note that forward 2 is a decent mid in its own right. It's only -9 on block, +5 on normal hit, and if you get the hug and guess right, you're walking away with at least 54 damage. Now tie 1+2 is similar, but the baseline is 48 damage, and it doesn't need to hit counter hit to go into the hug. Of course, it's also a power crush. Now once you're in the hug, the options are pretty straightforward. 1 will toss them away, giving you a little dash running mix-up. 2 flips them a little sideways right in front of you, nothing guaranteed but solid for a mix-up. And then 1+2 leads to a beefy juggle. Now the mind game is pretty insane and silly here because most players that know will typically break 1+2, otherwise they're risking eating double the damage. But if they do that, they're giving away 50-ish damage from the other options. Now the situation is a little flipped here with down 1+2. We've already talked about how strong down 1+2 by itself is, so we won't beat that horse. But if you get the counter hit and the hug, the 1 and 2 options flip your opponent over, but right at your feet, this time with plus frames, so perfect for a 50-50 mix-up. Now the 1+2 does not juggle here. Instead, it's a slam that once again leaves them at your feet for yet another 50-50 and a little bit more baseline damage. Now considering the safety of down 1+2 and forward 2, the Sumo hug is just a fantastic feature of Ganryu's game. So we don't want to go too much longer, so part 2 will have a more proper character summary along with the normal juggle samples and punishers, so be on the lookout for that in the coming days. Ganryu is strong and is also super fun, so really what more do you need to know at this point? So you guys know the drill. You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, etc. The big push, as always, is Patreon. If you like what you've been seeing, please support us. Every little bit helps. But if you have any idea for Patreon perks or anything like that, be sure to comment. And otherwise, see you guys next time.